can AI really support teachers to make sense of the student performance data and give that in plain English sentences to the teacher? That, hey, Pratik is not doing well in class today. Why don't you check in with him about this? Hey, Willy's performed fantastic on this test. Why don't you go and give him a pat on his back? Or Tanmay is killing it on math. Why don't you just give him slightly more rigorous questions? Can I get those insights?
Welcome to Will Talks. Today we have two amazing individuals in the studios today. We have Pratik Rajurkar and Tanmay Dhote. Both of them run an amazing company called PolymathAI. And they're working on the cutting edge of artificial intelligence, and especially for education and knowledge organizations. I am so happy and glad that you guys were able to come in today. Tell us a little bit more about this company that you guys decided to start. How did you guys meet, and what really drives you?
Thanks, Willy. First up, I just wanted to thank you to take this time out and have a conversation with us. To be very honest, you were one of the first persons who trusted us and showed us the light that, hey, there's something to be built here. Why don't you guys try building it? And I'm really glad for that trust. Uh, Tanmay and I were school friends. We've met about 16 years ago. We played on the same basketball team, went to the same college till about 12th grade. And I went on to pursue engineering, studied industrial engineering, then became a school teacher. I spent early years doing that and then worked with multiple public education departments as a consultant. And then was working in consulting space for a while and decided to start something together. We tried building a couple of products, got to try out what's this AI thing, and were fairly excited with the possibilities. And what excited me as a teacher was the kind of activities we could create or the kind of magic we could really do inside the classroom. And that's where we got thinking with your nudge that, hey, you guys should probably build this. And we started thinking more on the AI in education bit. Yeah.
So like Pratik mentioned, right? So I was at Microsoft before starting and was working on AI and ML before it became like the hype itself. And we think that there's a lot of potential when it comes to AI in education, especially with respect to the personalization AI could bring in a child's life, right? And that's what really drives us in building what we're currently.
This is incredible, right? I love to see young people coming together and really feeling for a problem and then trying to find a solution for that problem. I know there are no 100% solutions. I think what we need to do is find many 5 or 10% solutions. So when it comes to AI in education, what kind of solution do you think this is? Is it a 5%, a 10, or a 20% solution? And is it a solution that Indian schools and Indian learners are waiting for?
That's a very interesting question. Honestly, this is a set of 5% solutions, which together in a compounded manner creates like a larger impact on the overall learning and teaching experience. So we can't look at AI as a monolith, and that is something we always keep talking about. The chat GPT is something which is very popular, but let's not look at it as the only solution that's out there in AI. Let's look at the technology. Let's peel that layer. Let's look at what's possible or what's driving this experience and how can we emulate a similar experience in further smaller touch points. Let's look at teachers separately. Let's look at the learners separately. Let's look at parents. Maybe let's look at the school as a whole. And what all 5% improvements we can add at every small point across this ecosystem. And that's going to make a very profound impact overall on the way in which schools are run, or the way in which students are learning, the way in which parents are having a conversation with their child. So there's a lot to explore in this space.
Yeah, and it's important to still keep the user at the front and not AI. We tend to get lost in the technology and see what's possible. But the only thing that matters is still solving real user problems, right? That's what's important.
So this is interesting. What you're actually saying is with AI, there's this experience I had actually a couple of months ago. I was talking about this thing, this concept. I was talking about this whole thing for half an hour, and then I asked So do you have any questions? And the person in front of me asked, "Uh, क्या ये ऐप है या एक सॉफ्टवेयर है या एक वेबसाइट के क्या क्या है ये व्हाट इज इट बिकॉज वी आर सो ट्यून्ड to thinking, is this an app? Because people now know what an app is and what you can use an app for. Or is this a software? People know where software plays into, and they're able to sort of place these technologies at a particular box. But when people talk about AI, they're talking about AI, large language models, and things like that. A lot of us as teachers and educators may still be struggling to figure out exactly बैठता कहाँ है ये, where does it sit in my daily routine as a teacher. So I want to throw this question out to you, Pratik. You said you were a teacher.
Yeah.
And you were teaching inside the classrooms for maybe a few years, several years ago. And that was in the pre-AI days. Those were the days when your friend Tanmay was actually doing AI and ML. If you were to be the teacher again today, आपका दिन कैसा दिखता था? How would your day, your routine, your actions, how different would it be? Is that something you would like to shed some light on?
That's a very interesting question. Now let's just visualize a teacher's day first. So uh, one thing I want to call out is teaching is a thankless job, and shout out to all the teachers out there. But let's just visualize for the wider community. Let's understand, like, a teacher starts their day probably at 6:30, 7, does their home chores, reaches the school at 7:15, because most of our schools are early morning schools. So I used to reach at school at around 7:15, uh, take classes till around 12:30, then take a 15-minute break. At 12:45, I would go and do remediation with a bunch of students till around 1:32. And at 2, I would go back home, grab my lunch, sleep for a bit, be back up at around 3:30. I was expected to start planning for the next day, because if I have to teach for 6 hours, I need to have a very good understanding of what am I going to even talk about for those 6 hours. My learners, their needs, where are they, what level are they at. So I analyze all that information, I plan for the next day, spend about 2 to 3 hours planning that, and that's like around 6:37. And then I go take printouts for my classroom, bring all those sheet back. It is around 7:38, grab my dinner, sleep. That used to be largely my day. But now when I see the opportunities that AI has unlocked, so to say, I see that 3 hour time that I used to spend planning, creating those assessments, putting all those resources out, I can cut that down significantly. And it can literally be something around, say, like a 20-minute process, which would normally take me around 3 hours earlier, because I am not expected to find all that information. It can be there are tools that help me access that information. I don't need to sit and write my own lesson plans. If I give some of these AI tools enough idea or enough inputs around what I want, I can get those lesson plans with the support of AI. And about these questions or assessments, which I was printing on a sheet of paper back in the day when I was teaching, now I can use tech tools to actually deliver those assessments and an AI solution to make those questions for me. So it literally saves me a lot of time. And teachers today are feeling super burnt out because of the way in which they're expected to, the amount of tasks they're expected to do and the amount of things that they're expected to deliver on. This tech literally cuts that down, and we can give teachers back their evenings.
Yeah, so statistically, a teacher spends more than half their time working outside of the classroom, not really teaching, which is a very hectic thing to do, right? Also, a very interesting fact is that in the US, they did a survey, and the profession which said that they feel the most burnt out at work was actually teachers. It was not doctors, it was not policemen, it was actually the teachers, right? And this is what we want to really focus on and solve. Like Pradeep mentioned, how can we make their lives easier, but at the same time not compromise the quality of education that they would be able to deliver, right? And through technologies like AI, we just want to make sure that that enablement of teachers happen. We don't want to replace the teachers or think that there's going to be a bot which is going to teach me, but how can we basically enhance the productivity of teachers to really make the classroom experience even better, their lives easy, on both aspects.
This is such a interesting idea that you put there, where people start thinking that technology starts replacing teachers. I remember in one of my talks, I once used a line saying that definitely technology will not replace a teacher, but a teacher who knows technology will replace a teacher who doesn't know technology. Another conference I attended at the American School of Mumbai, the superintendent over there, Craig Johnson, he actually jumped in and he said this very beautiful thing on stage. He said, technology is like an amplifier. Technology is like an amplifier. You still have to say good things on the mic.
Yes.
Right? So you good teaching will be amplified. Bad teaching will also be amplified. So it's very important for us to get back and understand that good teachers are still the fundamental building blocks of a great learning classroom. What we are looking at is good teachers getting incredibly better using technology as an amplifier, right? I mean, any thoughts around that?
I have just one point of difference there. The line where we say that good teaching is going to be amplified, absolutely agree with that. There's literally no second guessing that. What I feel is this tech can actually help bad teaching uh, be improved a bit. I think we can uh, push the floor up. All like there's literally no limit to how better you can get, but you can actually like improve the uh, performance of educators who were not there or not up to the mark as per certain standards. You can do that, and this is actually coming out to be true. So there's this professor at Wharton, Professor Ethan Mollick. He's currently working with BCG on an evaluation. Now they are evaluating consultants, but again a very service oriented role. So they saw a chat GPT supported consultant. The bottom quartile was able to perform significantly better when they were provided an AI assistant in the form of a chat GPT for their own role. So what I believe is if we can transfer a similar or create a similar experience for teachers in their context, the floor can be shifted up. So the baselines of quality that we're talking about, which are foundational numeracy and literacy, we can actually move beyond that. And we can actually deliver more to the children around us.
Perfectly aligned on that, right? Because if the intent to use AI and do better is still there, then definitely they would be able to do a better job as compared to what they would do usually, right? So 100% aligned on what Pratik just mentioned.
What you're saying, Tanmay and Pratik, reminds me of this amazing session I attended by Dr. Harish Shetty. He's an incredible speaker. I think everybody needs to listen to some of his talks. And in one of his talks, he was saying India is not like a very rich country. I mean, in terms of a population, wealth, and economic this thing. So what India requires is hierarchies. And the reason India requires hierarchies is because hierarchies help training. And what India requires is training. Everybody requires training, and through training, they can be on a journey of excellence. Through training, they can improve the quality of service. Through training, they can improve the existing status quo, which now means that this is not just an amplifier, but this is an improver.
Yeah.
This means that suddenly, what is most difficult and what India requires today, training and hierarchy, suddenly it's almost like everyone has a system available with them to get better, so that we don't have the bridge, the divide doesn't mean good teachers become better and bad teachers become worse. No, it's suddenly good teachers becoming better and all teachers becoming better.
Yes.
How does that resound and resonate with you?
I mean, very well put. Honestly, this is going to be imagine there to be training wheels. When we learned how to ride a bicycle, we had those training wheels and they would come off slowly, and for everyone the pace would be different when they come off. We learned that analogy for riding a bicycle, or we learned that lesson there, but we've not kept those sort of guardrails or those sort of training wheels for a lot of other professions. I think now we can truly personalize the support that not only teachers need. Teachers definitely, these tech can, and how we are looking at it is going to support teachers, but with their instruction they can actually create similar experiences for the learner as well. And it could be the student, it could be a learner at maybe even a university. How do we provide them the kind of support they need instead of saying one size fits all?
That's a very interesting thing, and that leads me to start thinking about another thing I experienced in a conference. And this was a business conference. And in this conference, this gentleman said, you could have a school. You could have a school with maybe 3,000 children, charging maybe a lakh or a lakh and a half a year. That's 45 to 50 crores in revenue per year from one school. The equivalent of that in a SME, if there's a small and medium enterprise that is doing 50 crores revenue, that SME would have a head HR, a head training, a head of technology, a head of customer support, a head of marketing. They might even include, may even at some times could have a head of quality.
Yeah.
And they would have some really good supply chain management solutions.
Yes.
They would have some really good ERP solutions. They would have some really good tracking monitoring solutions. And all these systems would fall in place to ensure that this SME is delivering and generating 50 to 80 crore rupees in revenue. But a school that maybe does 50 to 60 crores has one principal, two section heads, things like that. They may not necessarily have all those other people.
Yeah.
So how many schools have you come across who have dedicated trainers, dedicated content creators, dedicated quality analysts? And if you have, please share. If you haven't, please share why schools need this. And if they can't afford it, why AI, ChatGPT, large language models may come and help them democratize education.
I've had a chance to visit a bunch of schools. Like when I was working as a consultant to the government of Maharashtra, we were involved in this project where I had to go and select a bunch of schools for a project that the government was planning back in the day. I did not come across a single school like that. And more recently, I've been looking at some innovative models, some really progressive schools, your school, and a bunch of other schools that I've had a chance to visit. You guys are putting in the work now to create something like of this sorts. But that is, I if I have to look at the wider or a broader picture, that's not even a drop in the ocean. It's very, very minute, and the scale at which we are looking, we have about 260 million students right now. In terms of, if we were a country, we are probably the fifth largest country, just putting our students out there. So we are doing too little, and I won't say too late because it's never too late, but we're definitely doing too little. Can we improve this? Can we uh, use this technology to really take it to many schools and really fast, because we need it right now, and we can. Uh, with generative AI and the kind of innovations that are happening, the technology and the entire innovation has been democratized. It's out there. Everybody's putting their stuff on Twitter. It's on Product Hunt. It's on all these platforms. What all innovation can you do with this? And it's just about putting it in the right context with the right background. And I think education is really at that place, ripe to and ripe and ready for innovation and that disruption to happen. So I think in the next few years we should be in a place where uh, a school leader, an HM, can actually orchestrate the entire school in a way that, okay, if I need quality, I know which teachers need support on what aspects, and I have an AI solution right there to provide them that hand holding or that support to take them from point A to point B, which serves the need of my learners.
Yeah, I think we should not see emergence of AI as a threat. It's rather an inflection point where we need to focus on actually using AI for improvement. So we talk to a lot of teachers, and what they're scared about is kids are going to cheat on my class using AI, right? That's what they're worried about. They're not really worried how they could improve the outcomes through AI, right? And we tend to give a very simple analogy to that. That when calculators were invented, we did not stop taking maths tests, right? We just changed the type of tests that were actually there, right? So instead of having an aversion towards AI, we should just focus on how do we utilize AI to really go on and build better learning experiences. Especially because even though you could restrict AI right now by enforcing everything in class, once they got in the real world, they are going to have access to all these things anyway, right? It does not make sense to really box them without that when they are growing up. And I think it's similar to what internet was, let's say 15, 20 years back. the democratization that internet brought to information, AI is probably one step ahead of that in what it could do, right? I mean, 20 years back, if I had to learn something, I had to go to college, I had to go to university to get a degree and learn something. Now I can just open YouTube and get everything for free. Similarly, with AI, my access has become even more easier and even more personalized because I could just generate whatever I want based on my certain context, right? So the whole idea is that think of it as an opportunity and not as a threat to the existing education system.
I think that is a very it brings a it brings a lot of safety in that idea to understand that this is something that's just going to make us better and this is going to take us to the next level. So I think you all worked on a really snazzy lesson planning tool, like a lesson generator tool or something. Why did you think about that? How did you do it? How did you make it? When did you launch it? Does anybody use it? And if they're using it, what are they doing for? What have you learned? Share some insights.
Sure. So that was one of the initial products that we had built. And at that point, we were not even focusing on AI and education. We were building something entirely different, to be honest. And that was just a side project that we had created just for people to see what is possible with AI, not just in education, but overall. And we launched it and left it out. Did not even track what's happening, if anyone is using it, etc. Uh, this was about 5 months back. What was very interesting is we started receiving a lot of inbounds from people saying that this is really cool, but could you do it for my context, right? For example, we received an email from someone in New Zealand who's like, "This is really cool. Can I do it for my Maori language?" We got a bunch of users from Saudi Arabia saying this is possible in Arabic. Right? And that got us really thinking what's happening there. In the last 5 months, we had more than 52,000 teachers using it, more than around, I don't know, 1.5 lakh lesson plans which have been generated. And our current monthly active users is about 13,000 with more than 50% retention, and that's entirely organic. We haven't spent a dime on any sort of paid marketing, etc. And yeah, people seem to be really finding value in it, right? It's just such a simple solution. Obviously, they have to do customizations on top of that, but the fact that they're returning means that definitely making their lives easier in some sense. And we have done around 130 countries till now. Some of the countries that are using it is probably the first time even heard that that's a country, right? So that's always a good thing.
And why did we even decide to build a lesson plan generator of all the things is when I used to be a teacher, I was expected to plan lessons, and just said like it takes about 2 to 3 hours to plan like those 3 4 classes. It was a painstaking process. It was like a personal pain point and a personal conflict always to should I plan or should I just go and wing it. Uh, and sometimes I did wing it, unfortunately, but most days I planned. But it took a lot of effort. So we decided, and I was just playing around with ChatGPT, like, hey, it can go do cool things. And we decided, like, can we try using it to make like a lesson plan, sat down, build this out, and just shot one email to the Teach for India alumni community that, hey, there's something that we've tried. Why don't you guys try it and let us know what it sounds like? And that was that day, and it's today. Like literally, we don't know what happened after that. Where all people have come across our link, how are they using it? Why are they coming back to it? And then we obviously started having those conversations. How's their life becoming better? But yeah, it was just coming out. It all came out from a very personal pain point that I needed my evenings. I wanted to go to like say a bike ride or something, but couldn't.
So the beauty of this is it's just solving a problem. It straight away solves a problem, and teachers have a lot of problems. Education has a lot of problems. Schools have a lot of problems, and a lot of those problems could be probably solved here. I think a lot of people like to follow instructions rather than to sit down and create instructions because the practices are easy to follow. The principles are difficult to generate, and suddenly we almost have like a go-to person, someone that they can go to and ask questions and get things done and follow the instructions that generally come out. In all your interactions with schools and school principals and school owners across the length and breadth of this country, what have you learned about school leaders or school principals or schools or their buying considerations or anything from your personal experience?
So first thing we understood that it's a very difficult job. Uh, in a lot of enterprises or even SMEs, you are answerable to say a client for X percentage of your business. Here, your clients are maybe 2,000 students and 4,000 parents who are standing behind those 2,000 students. So you're equally answerable to everybody. So it's a really tough job to just keep doing this every day over multiple years, honestly. So that's really tough. So hats off to all the teachers and school leaders out there. Hats off to you. You're doing like a fantastic job driving this entire movement ahead. Second thing that we understood is other than being really difficult, the choices they have to make are really detrimental, like to the kind of education or the instructions that go inside a school. So the kind of curriculum you select, the kind of books you select, and there are a lot of people asking those questions. So whatever interactions we've had so far with school leaders here, we've understood that the consumer is someone else, and your customer is someone else. And that is why there's this triangle that's being created where there's school at one end, your consumer is the child, and your customer is the parent. So sometimes schools are put in a place where they have to do certain tasks that parents can see, because it's a problem at both fronts, to be very honest. Parents also don't are not showing that faith on the school, or hey, we're taking this quality improvement program inside the school, but the question comes that, hey, but how is that going to matter to me or my child, or how does that make any difference? So even us as consumers, and this is something that us as customers, when we go and buy something, we want to see it. We are always driven by tangible things that we can touch, feel, see. But here there's like a lot of intangible, and we need to show that trust. So that triangle is becoming slightly chaotic. For It becomes difficult for school leaders to manage. So even if they have really strong intentions of putting in quality programs, it becomes difficult, because how do I justify this to the parents? Even if that's making great impact on the student learning outcomes, how do I justify this? That's one puzzle piece we are trying to solve ourselves.
Yeah, to what Pratik mentioned, right? Because of this whole customer and consumer mismatch, a lot of edtechs also struggle with this, right? Because you have to sell to the parents and then get the child to use it. And that is why what you sell to the parents is like a very strong end outcome. This is the package that they're going to get, right? Somebody says seventh standard, you say this is the marks they're going to get. This is what will take them to get into an IIT, right? We don't really focus on the process as much. Because like Pratik said, right? It's much easier to sell like an end point rather than they'll actually learn, which is not really a tangible outcome, at least the way the current education system evaluates kids, right? So, and unless you see that value, it's always difficult to get, let's say, parents to pay for something which they cannot show off also at points that this is how much my child has scored. This is where, I mean, not just schools, right? All edtechs, everyone faces this sort of a weird conundrum.
I want to ask you some question that's definitely going to push all of our thinking, and I'll also make an attempt to answer it myself. What I'm thinking about is, do you think among the three of us, we will be able to name at least 12 different uses of ChatGPT and AI in a school? In a school, 12 different.
12.
I think each? No, 12.
12 each?
Let's do 12. Let's try 12.
Together 12?
Yeah, 12 use cases, clear 12 use cases. If you're a principal or a teacher or a student or a parent listening to this conversation, we're going to attempt to do 12 clear use cases of ChatGPT in a school. Let's see.
Uh, can I add one nuance to it, maybe? Just to change the game a bit. Let's look at generative AI, like the layer that's powering ChatGPT, because we believe the layer is much more powerful than just one app. That's just one experience that we know of.
So, what do you mean by layer? Because people who want to understand it more might want to know, when you say layer, what do you mean?
Yeah. So let's look at it as a pastry. There are like 3 layers to it, or 4 layers to start off with. The basic is your cloud, the computing, all the servers, that all the hardware and all the core technical stuff. Then there's one layer on top, which is your your model. So the open AI models, which the GPT in Chat GPT is the large language model. And there are multiple such companies that are making these models. There's a company called Cohere, there's a company called Anthropic, Google's making one, Facebook is open sourcing their models. So there are multiple competitors. We just know of Chat GPT because that's the one that was first to the market, so to say, and something that's been super popular. There are multiple other models. So there's that model layer, and on top of the model layer is what we call as the application layer. Now, Chat GPT is just one app. There are multiple other apps. Polymath is again an app which can be powered, which is powered by these large language models. So the app layer, then there's the model layer, and then there's the infrastructure layer. And then there are other things in the infrastructure layer, or other nuances. We'll not really go into that. But let's look at these 3 layers, so to say. And instead of looking at only the Chat GPT app, we'll go one layer down, and on the GPT layer, or the AI layer, which we can call it. So let's look at that use cases, because that then becomes really exciting. More experiences we can think of.
Okay. So would you like to go first, then second, then I kind of try and wing it, and then we go it in that format?
Yeah. I think let's start with the most obvious. Creating assessments for kids. That's the easiest and most low hanging.
So, the others who are in this podcast will also ask you that question. If you can expand that a little bit, matlab, what do you mean by assessment? Matlab, unit test, or is it question paper, or MC, something like that. So the teacher will actually understand, oh, I can do this tomorrow.
The beauty of AI is it can be all of them. You could generate a question paper, you could generate like a worksheet, you could generate like a tutorial, you could generate MCQs, you could generate fill in the blanks, you could generate short answer questions, everything. And I'll go one step further. You could also use AI to potentially evaluate the solutions, right? You could ask AI to generate rubrics and then also ask it to evaluate and give them a certain score. At this point, it might not do a very great job at it because of the subjectivity that gets involved. But yeah, it's something that could be done.
So technically 3. You can generate questions, you can generate a rubric or an answer key, and you can also just ask the AI to see if the students answered it correctly according to the rubric or an answer key. So that's 3 different pain points right there.
Wow. You want to try the fourth one?
Lesson planning. I'll start with the but obvious one. Second thing I really feel is a big pain point is finding the right resources. Now, if my lesson plan, or if my idea is to teach about the history of Shivaji Maharaj, and I want to pick up a YouTube video, or say a story or an anecdote from his life that I can probably use in my class as a hook, I have to go and do a lot of research. AI experiences can actually help me cut that time down. There are beautiful tools that are being built out there. There are beautiful experiences that are being built out there that can help me cut that time down. Find the right YouTube video, contextualize the YouTube video to my classroom. Maybe the YouTube video is in Marathi, but I'm teaching in a Hindi classroom, or a classroom that only allows English as a medium of instruction. I can actually translate the Marathi video into English and play it in my class, the same YouTube video. Third, I really think that there is an opportunity. Now, my lesson plan is ready, my resources are ready. I need to go and present this in the classroom. So, I need to have a presentation ready, right? So, can a deck be created contextually aligned to my lesson plan? I don't want a generic deck. And making that PPT is going to take a lot of time for me. That's like 30 minutes easily without any fancy editing. So, can I cut that 30 minutes down into maybe like a few seconds, or maybe like a minute to get that deck?
So you can make the PPT.
Yeah, you can make the PPT on the lesson plan.
Okay. I'm going to turn it around a little bit, and I'm going to say, if you're a school principal and you just hired somebody new, of late many people will say job description though. So I can use AI to draft and create a job description. Along with the job description, I can put performance metric.
Yeah.
Along with the performance metrics, I can also generate the staff employment contract. ये 3 चीज मैं करके उनके हाथ में दे सकता हूँ. That is one, maybe the sixth or I think the seventh one, seventh use case of artificial intelligence. Would you want to try the eighth one?
Yeah. Concept simplification, right? If I want to explain quantum mechanics to a kid studying in the second standard, it's going to be really hard. But I can get AI to generate a very simple explanation for me for that certain age group, right? That's really powerful. Because maybe even for me, right, I don't probably want to learn everything about a topic, but I just want to learn enough to be able to talk to that at parties, right? So then I'll just like, do like a summary of it and then do it. Because I mentioned summary, a very strong use case is summarization, right? I have a huge textbook. At all points, I can't really read through it, right? Summarization is very powerful because it helps me get a lot of information in a limited amount of time. And that's what a lot of AI work is going in. How do you summarize it without losing much information, right? That's a very strong use case.
Have you got 9?
I'll change guess. I'll take the student persona now, like really associate with them. So in a classroom, you've got a bunch of students. Classroom is like an orchestra. Everybody is like doing their own thing, and a teacher has to really become that person who's orchestrating that entire thing. Now, in that case, I think as a learner, for me, AI can bring that learning to me instead of me being expected to be at the level of the learning. So that learning level can be matched up to me and then create a path for me to come to a level. So uh, a simple example is maybe I'm in grade 7, but my reading levels are still stuck at grade 5. Can the grade 7 science text be brought down to a grade 5 level so that the words are simpler, the concept still gets communicated to me? I still know what that topic is all about or that content is all about, but I'm not expected to carry the load of that, of those words, or that English or the language is not becoming a barrier. And this is something which is very popular problem for mathematics. As we go up, like our kids are struggling to read, and then word problems come in. Even though they know the math behind it, they'll not be able to solve it because bhaiya samajh nahi aaya. So that's one experience I think is going to be a positive game changer for students.
That's a good idea. Maybe for the 10th use case, maybe what comes to mind is, as a teacher, I know that children love uh, strategies, techniques. They love mnemonics, VibGyor, for example, or these kind of examples. So now anything that I'm teaching, I can ask an AI to make a 4-line limerick or a joke or a memory story, which I can take to the class and I can get children to memorize it. That way, kids will also be able to internalize and understand a topic. Because I can't write songs, but the AI can write a song for me about, let's say, double-digit or long division, for example.
I'm just going to squeeze myself in between this thing. I think on the same lines, I have this mind maps. Like one of the latest things that's going about, and we've like created a product on top is how do you use AI to create mind maps on any topic? So if there's, say, how do you build apps? I have this question and I don't really want to read, or I've read it, or I just want to revise. AI can help me create like an entire flow chart of what are the different components, how does the information flow happen, and these products and experiences are out there. Uh, so mind mapping to help remember or help jog your memory.
That's number 11. You want to try number 12?
Sure. One thing I could think of is real world simulation or like learning through role playing. You can ask the bot to really be like a character, right? Assume that we are in an interview and you are the interviewer. Let's talk, right? That gives me that sort of an exposure to an actual real world scenario that I might be facing. And here I'm not restricting to, let's say, just text generation. Maybe we go one layer above and then think about, let's say, voice generation as well. And I'm actually conversing with the interviewer. Uh, they are conversing in a voice. And at the end of the interview, I get feedback on, let's say, what should be improved. How did I do? Was my conceptual understanding missing? Was my communication bad? Right? This opens up a lot of possibilities. And this could be a sales training. This could be interview training. This could be anything.
Amazing. I think for number 13, we've been able to break the 12 number. For number 13 is if a school principal is looking at doing some training for her teachers, she can immediately use artificial intelligence tools to try and see, make a 60-minute session on behavior management, make a 120-minute session on positive discipline, and how can I do it along with all the required resources for that. So training sorted. Training is pretty much done. 14th one, maybe I can give it a go. You have something for 14th?
I now right now we're looking at only, so I'll be really honest, we could do 12 each and more if you just look at what all experiences we want to touch and enhance with AI. Now I'll just add like a very small experience, watching YouTube videos. So a lot of times students are expected to go home and watch a YouTube video or listen to a podcast on a particular topic. Uh, and we all know, like, passively watching something, we are not going to be engaged. Can we add AI to that experience and track how the students are picking up that topic? So how can you watch a YouTube video but also generate questions on it? Maybe generate like a follow-up activity exclusively on that YouTube video, so that you know how much of retention has happened. So yeah, maybe in a different experience.
Brilliant. You want to try 15?
Sure, I'll cheat again and then go to image generation, right? Because I mean, you're talking about AI, right? Not talking about just GPT. So, I mean, I am not an artistic person at all. I'm really bad at drawing. I've been drawing the same image for like 20 years of my life now.
Is it a circle with four?
No, it's that scenery with like mountains and one river flowing. I just draw that, right? With let's say technologies like DALI or Mid Journey, it gives me the potential to. I have great ideas. At least I want to believe that, but I never had the talent to really get them to life and show people what it would look like, right? And that I'm sure a lot of people face. That's really powerful when it comes to image generation.
Brilliant. I think we're at number 15 now. Number 16 that comes to my mind at this point in time is there's a school principal, and my mom used to say in schools, no, always set up committees. Committee hona bahut zaruri hai. One of the reasons why committees is necessary is because you need ideas from many people. आइडियाज होना चाहिए, बट मैनी स्कूल टीचर्स से ज़्यादा आइडिया देने का नहीं, क्योंकि जब भी आइडिया देंगे तो काम भी हमसे ही कराएंगे, उससे अच्छा आइडिया मत. राइट नाउ व्हाट हैपेंस, solving this problem, you can use artificial intelligence to make your entire annual day drama script. And आपका खुद का, your own story, your own characters, you can say, oh, I have 30 characters. I have 30 students and I want to make a 30-minute script. I can tell an AI 30 characters, 30-minute script, moral of the story should be this, length and duration should be this. My annual day, I will do 20 different original drama presentations.
And you know the best part? Nobody has to become a tree. That's the best part.
Correct. You want to try number 18?
Yeah, I think one thing that I could think of is giving like personalized feedback, right? Uh, we never got feedback, let's say, at a personal level that this is what I'm good at, this is what I should improve, etc. Because it's really hard to do that. Again, time consuming to do that for every student. What I could use AI for is just give me like a brief, like 2, 3 words, and I can form like an entire coherent sentence about actionable steps, what I should do, what I should not do, and then use that to really send it out to my students at a personal level, right? That would be really great.
Brilliant. You want to try number 19?
I want to unlock another persona. I think I'm unlocking like these game levels is what I'm feeling. Parents. I think parents are really invested in a child's education. I was reading this report and I keep writing about this or speaking about this. CSF put this report out where parents, 80% of parents actually come back home and ask the child as to, hey, aaj school mein kya hua? What happened at the school today? They're interested in knowing. They want to be they are invested in the child's education. But when you come down and see how many of them can support a child, the number was at mere 20-21%. So there is a very strong intent, but there is a very weak ability is what I make of that data. So there's some gap. Can AI in sync with the feedback, in sync with what's happening in the school, help my parents have an idea as to what should I talk to my child about today? Maybe they've learnt about Taj Mahal in school today, and the story around it. Just the parent gets a small nudge. Hey, ask him about what happened at Taj Mahal, or why was it built? What does it signify? And that becomes like one conversation where your education is being reinforced at home. It is going one step deeper, and we get like a very good engagement at home as well.
I'm going to go for number 20. If I generated my lesson plan from using something like a ChatGPT, I can now put that lesson plan inside ChatGPT and say, इसके लिए parent letter बना के दे दो मेरे को. And now every day I can build a small automation कि ये स्कूल में सिखाया, automatically parent को email या WhatsApp चला गया with that parent letter. And that parent letter, if I know that मेरे class में there is Maharashtrian, Gujarati, Oriya, Bengali, I will translate that parent letter into 7 different languages and send it. So suddenly the grandfather or the grandmother who feels away and distant from the child can now start having conversation with the child. Use case number 20. Use case number 21.
20 is a really good number, no?
I have a use case 21. Teachers who are looking for better jobs, not better jobs, maybe different jobs, they can use ChatGPT, upload their CV and say, make this CV better for this school, which values cooperative learning, project-based learning. Make this CV better. Give me 5 questions that I might be asked. Give me good answers for it and help me practice for this thing. Teachers may be able to bring their best self forward in an interview.
Just to add on to that, right? Even the email that you would send to your potential employers, you could just use AI to write it, right? Even easier.
You want to try number 23?
Yeah, I'm going to go for it. That was my roll number at school. So I really feel teachers are great at teaching, but we expect a lot out of them. For example, analyzing data. I mean, why are they expected to analyze data? It's important. I know why, but the skill is something that you need to pick up. Uh, there is a specified role for it. Can AI really support teachers to make sense of the student performance data and give that in plain English sentences to the teacher? That, hey, Pratik is not doing well in class today. Why don't you check in with him about this? Hey, Willy's performed fantastic on this test. Why don't you go and give him a pat on his back? Or Tanmay is killing it on math. Why don't you just give him slightly more rigorous questions? Can I get those insights?
Are you saying that I can take an Excel sheet of all these children's marks, just upload it to something like GPT, and then ask GPT to say, English में मुझे समझाओ, language में मैं तुमको बताओ? Is that something what you're saying?
You can just do it today. It's available on ChatGPT. There are specified tools that also help you do that. Just upload your sheet, upload a PDF document, even upload like a student answer, and you get all the insights. You can query that. You can ask it to create trends, give you the patterns. It'll analyze it for you. So yeah, you probably don't need a data analysis team in a school.
Let's try number 25. Okay, so number 25. As a school principal, I now want to buy some furniture. And the carpenter comes and says, ये टेबल का 8,000 रुपये लगेगा. And the way most school principals and administrators negotiate is, भैया थोड़ा कम कर दो. All right. And we all know that that's not necessarily the most scientific way to do. I could now use ChatGPT to say, I want to make a table. It has to fit 3 people. It has to be this length and this depth and this breadth. What are the 5 components, or what are the components required to make this table? I will get a list of components. What is the latest prices for each of these components? I will get a list of prices. Now I have better information to negotiate, to give that order, save money for the institution, and probably do better design. That was number 25.
I think a very important point that you brought up, price is not a great idea because GPT has not been trained on data after 2021. So you're not considering inflation firstly. Also, the contextualization, right? It's trained on a lot of data from the US or the European countries, might not fit so well in the Indian context, right? There are the risks. There are some risks that also lie with, yeah, and I think it's good that that got brought out with what you said, right? Because you have to also be aware that Chat GPT, while being powerful, has its own drawbacks as well, and it confidently lies, right? That's the problem. It wouldn't say that I don't know. It will just make up something and tell you. That's why you have to always take it with a pinch of salt before you are like, okay, this is what is the ground truth. Uh, that's something that has to be kept in mind for everything that you.
Absolutely brilliant. Thank you for amplifying that, because that then suddenly brings responsibility back on us. And we need to treat it like a able, willing, competent, and ever so ready, highly energetic Duracell bunny come intern, where the responsibility of the final outcome depends on us. Do you want to try 26, or you want to?
I really want to support you on the 25th one because I think maybe the Chat GPT that we all know, the free version can't do like great on pricing, but AI in general or the internet enabled experiences on Chat GPT can do what you want to do. So I'm with you on the 25th one. For 26th, I think one pain point, although it's going to take a lot of effort, but if we can use it to plan timetables also. It's going to take a lot of effort, but we can try.
There would be at least 500 principals suddenly jumped up and said, this is what I wanted to do. If someone can get my timetable done, on an average, a 4-member team spends a whole month making the timetable. The next month, the 4-member team becomes a 3-member team because one person is already peeved off because some teacher left and somebody else came and they had to change the timetable. In the 4th month, maybe the 3rd month after that, it remains a 1-member team. And in the last month before the school starts, everything is thrown and principal says, agar ye school mein kuch karna hai to mujhe hi karna hai, and she gets back to doing everything. There are times for 3 months after school has started also, timetable is not sorted. How can you do that?
I mean, it's going to take a lot of prompting effort. It's going to take a lot of data uh, about the context of the school. And then I think we can try it. I'm not committing that we can get a great timetable, but at least we can get a first draft to work on. So that 0 to 1 trouble's gone. Hopefully that.
That's totally brilliant. I think for use case number 27, today schools are trying to market themselves more than earlier. Abhi, it's not enough saying airy classroom, well-stocked library, qualified teachers. I think they have to be talking more. So there's Instagram, there's Facebook, there's LinkedIn, there's I don't know what else is there. I don't know, Snapchat. There's just so many things. And schools have to put themselves out there. Maybe they can start using GPTs to develop their communication strategy, their communication plan, what to put out there. Interesting lines that they can use. So that is a use case for things like this in a school.
Definitely. I'm going to. We were on what number? 20?
I don't know, 33.
7? 20? Whatever. Like we planned to do 12. We are already like almost 2.5 times that. The one interesting use case that is being unlocked now is this whole multimodal space. So Chat GPT, the one that we know it, already has started rolling off this entire new experience where you can add images as a part of your conversation with AI. So for example, I have the example actually what OpenAI showed is if I want to fix a bike, I can click a picture of the bike. I can click a picture of the toolbox that I've got with certain instructions of how to fix and just tell what part of the bike I need fixed. It's going to tell me what tool should I pick, how should I use that tool, and what process should I follow to fix that bike. It's going to come to a place where we can use our own context, the world around us, to learn a lot more. So maybe if I see this plant, I Google Lens already does some part of this, but in a more conversational way, I can start having more experiences. So not just restricted to speech or text. Now we can put in images as well.
So that's brilliant. It takes me to point number 30.
I think one thing I'm very bullish about is how can we improve the gamification of stuff, right? Uh, what AI does is gives you the ability to imagine a lot of things, and what better place to imagine than in actual games, right? Right now, we are used to playing the same game that everyone else is playing. What if I can improve learning by having my own experiences while playing a game, right? Maybe I'm doing like a maths game and I'm interested in cricket. So I can see like a cricket pitch and then just get visualized in the in an AI world, and then I can count, let's say, addition by, let's say, someone has hit a 4. Okay, then I have to add plus 4, right? I think this intersection of gaming and AI could also be really. uh,
I love that idea. I'm going to steal your idea. Number 31. What I'm feeling is we all love games, Lagori, Langdi, Stop Party, all these kind of games that we
Dabba Spice.
Dabba, Spice, Hops and Bats. All these games take us back to a different time because it's a physical manifestation of a mental state, right? What if I ask ChatGPT or some other tool like that to develop a game, a physical game that my children can use in order to study and learn one particular concept? And I was trying to make a game earlier, and I realized there are only 1,200 written down game mechanics. Did you know that? There are 1,200 formally written down game mechanics. And you could use any one of those game mechanics to create any game. For example, Uno. Uno has 7 cards. Each of these cards has a value. Each of that card has a number as well as a color. Certain cards have a flip. So that is a game mechanic. You can take the game mechanics of Uno and I can make a new game to teach you all the rulers of India, all the dynasties of India, all the countries. So I don't want to go up to, I don't want to reach number 100. What I'm learning from you guys is idea ka hi kami hai. What I mean is earlier it could have been paise ka kami hai. It could have been resources ka kami hai. It could have been technology ka kami hai. There are times when I have met very wealthy individuals and I only told them one thing. Ki, what do you think is less? And they say only one thing. Idea ki kami. Baki sab milega. And today, I think the greatest gift that educators have got today is that if they have an idea, if they can write that idea, they can then generate a solution and then they can go forward. आज हमें the tech that is available today to the teacher just makes us so wonderful. आज एक टीचर को या एक एजुकेटर को 15 साल एक्सपीरियंस लेके अच्छा बनने की जरूरत नहीं है. She can become some as effective as a 15-year experienced teacher or a 20-year experienced teacher in maybe 1 year through deliberate practice. Yesterday, a gentleman who came for a podcast said, मैं दिल्ली से बॉम्बे फ्लाइट में आया. I didn't learn anything about aviation. मैं एयरपोर्ट से यहाँ तक आपके स्टूडियो तक मैं गाड़ी में आया. मैं ट्रेन देखा, बस देखा, ब्रिज देखा, रोड देखा, हाईवे देखा, सारे चीजें. I didn't learn anything about architecture. The reason is because it was not deliberate. So a teacher today who says मैं आज fresher हूँ, I am joining a new school. 1 साल में मुझे 15 साल का एक्सपीरियंस टीचर जैसा बनना है. Through that deliberate practice, through some tools, through some ideas, and through some amount of effort, children are going to get brilliant teachers. Your thoughts and final closing comments.
I am super excited about what's in store, honestly. This is one space where you are innovating, you try and build something and you get instant feedback, because classrooms are the best places to get feedback, by the way. So I love the fact that we are in this space. We are loving what we're building and we're loving what we're doing. And as you said, like, the time's right now to do this. It's going to be a great equalizer for a lot of experiences. Like, now we're not going to be in a place where students in an urban city get to learn from the best teachers, and students, say, who are studying at a rural village, are being kept off, and are not getting that access. We'll not have. We are looking at a future where we can deliver a lot, and yeah, let's hope we make that happen as well.
Yeah, I think personally, even being a tech person, what field and domain really excites me through AI is education, right? Because, uh, like Pratik said, it's a great leveler, right? You're no longer bound by, let's say, an access to something. You have everything that you need at the tips of your hands, right? And to what you're mentioning, right? Now, building something is much more faster, right? I don't have to wait for like an year to really build like a game generator, for example, what you're mentioning, right? And that opens up so many possibilities. And another aspect of AI and education that I'm really interested in, let's say the personalization, right? And I mean, if you ask anyone, right from Sam Altman, who is the CEO of OpenAI, on what he thinks AI is going to affect the most, he says it's education, right? So, like Pratik said, great time to be in AI, especially building for education right now, and super excited to see how the future of learning is, right? And this is not like a 50-year long plan that we have to wait 50 years to see how it impacts. In the next 5 years, how the learning is going to be transformed is going to be phenomenal.
Thank you so much, Pratik and Tanmay. You guys have so much work to do. You have to meet so many schools and so many school leaders, and you want to be helping all of them create the India that we're all trying to create. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching Will Talks podcast.